Hello, it's Martin from Remote Control Bits. We're at the point now in the build where we're going to apply the stickers or decals to the body. You'll see in the manual there's very little instruction on how to place these and where to place them. The CF100 kit does actually come with a sheet that's got a picture and then guides of where the decals will actually go. Most of them are fairly self-explanatory, and you'll find there are a lot of decals that we're not going to use. Decals are basically split into 3 sheets, one for the rear bed, one for the main body, and then there's a sort of an additional one that's got Axial branded logos and things on. Some handy bits of kit that you'll need to do this is a craft knife, a spray bottle which has just got a really weak solution of washing detergent in, and that'll be clear what we use that for a bit later, and a small, this is just a piece of lexan that I've put some electrical tape round, and again I can show you the use of that. And then just some paper towel. Now if you've not put stickers or decals on before, generally they're pre-cut and you'll see the sort of a line around each of them. Start by using the smaller ones like this rear brake light and like the door handles. Work with those and they'll be easier to manage, and you'll get used to handling them and peeling them off and actually putting them on the body. And then work up to your bigger ones, so finally finish with this front window that's a very large decal. Some other bits of kit that we've got laid out that are worth pointing out. On the body you'll see there's some impressions for the shut lines on the doors and the bonnet, and you can get very fine markers to actually draw these in, and this is a good point to do that. You saw in the spraying video that I actually sprayed this red line on the body. If you don't want to spend the time masking, an easy solution is to buy sort of auto body stripe. You can get them in 2mm, and then you can just peel it off and stick it on in place. So that's another way of just speeding up the spraying process, or if your masking is not wonderful, another way to get you out of trouble. Right, I'll clear away, show you the smaller decals going on, and we'll work up to the big ones. So with our small decals, if you just bend the decal sheet, you'll get a little corner and get under. Once you've done that, just pop the corner of the decal onto a craft knife, and that'll allow you to place it on the body in the right place without getting your hands in the way. So I'll just zoom in and show you sticking that one down. So you can see there's an impression for this door handle on here. We've got our decal on our craft knife ready. What you want to do, just line that up so it goes into that recess. Pull your craft knife out, and then you can just rub it down. Just check there's no air in the cracks around. And there you have it. Just want to mention now, do take time to plan the application of your decals. You can see on this particular truck there's 2 different alternatives for the front. So you've got 2 different grills, if you like, and 2 different lights. This bottom set is really designed if you're fitting the LEDs behind, but you know, you could trim down so you have the side lights in the orange and then much clearer in the front. So take your time, plan those bits. The application of the decals really can make or break your paint finish. You can spend a lot of time, get a lovely paint finish, and then some poorly applied decals really can ruin it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and apply the front, and I'm going to mix. I'm going to use this top grille with these bottom set of lights. You can see now I've applied the 2 decals for the windows, and also the front, the grille and the lights. And when we put the light buckets in, so it really starts to come together. Now I just want to show you fitting the window masks onto this side. A great technique for getting these on, and they're very difficult to get on clean and straight and without any air bubbles in. So if you just use this spray bottle, I've just got a little bit of detergent in and some just clean water. We can then spray that onto the body, spray it onto the back of the decal, and then it'll allow us some slippage. We can put it in place, slip it where we want it, and then with a piece of lexan with some electrical tape on, we can then work from the middle and squeeze the excess water out from the decal, and then it'll then stick in place. So if I just show you that now. Other points just to note when I get the decal off the sheet is make sure that the body is clean when you're doing this point. So really you want to be putting the decals on as soon as you've removed the overspray film. And when peeling these decals off, try not to put any fingerprints, because obviously with window decals, you'll see the fingerprint once you've got them on. Okay, now we've got that released, just spray it with a fine misting out of the bottle, and you can see it loses its stickiness. Now just spray a little bit on the window where we're going to be. You can now drop this in place, and you'll see you've then got movement. So you can offer it up, make sure it's square in the window. I like to then just clean up the bit of the body around the outside that's wet, just with a bit of kitchen roll or paper. You see, it looks like there's a bubble in there. That is just the water. So with your piece of lexan, just work your way round. This just drags the water out of that decal, removing any air bubbles. Just mop up the excess water, and continue to do that until you can see that it's completely stuck and that no more water is coming out. And give it a really good dry. Make sure the edges are stuck down really well, and then there you have it. No air bubbles, and a nice clean straight decal. This is really going to come into its own when we do this front window, because the worst thing, we have a load of air bubbles or a crease or anything. If you do get these wrong and they start to stick, if you have to peel them off, be careful, because it's very easy to stretch these decals, and when they go back on they will look poor. Remove the decal from the sheet and not putting any fingerprints on, and just give a nice spray of our solution onto the back of the decal and onto the position on the body. You can then just offer this up, slip it into place. Once we're happy, work from the middle, work around to squeeze all that solution and any air out from beneath that vinyl. So it's just mopping up around now, and just going back over to make sure, and finally doing exactly the same, just with a nice dry piece of tissue. Make sure all the edges are pushed down, because they're the bits that will lift, and this is out on the trails getting muddy and wet, and you wouldn't want it to come. And there you go, one window mask with no air bubbles in it. So for the rear bed, we're going to make the fuel cell red. Same process as doing your window masks. Remove the decal, give it a light spray, spray the area that we're going to apply it to. Best to work from a filling cap, because obviously that's the bit that's going to be seen, and we want to be square. Get a good crease on this leading edge. Then we're just going to dry off, trim this part off, and then put the other two sides on. Okay, I'll come back when it's done. Now with all the decals on I'm going to apply, we need to move back to the manual, and we're going to do steps 46 through to 51, which is really assembling the rear cage, putting the flatbed in the rear cage, and then attaching that to the body. So I'll get all my pieces out ready and then start showing you step 46. And be very careful on this step, because there are 3 different size screws, and actually there's an error in the manual. If you look at step 46, this particular size screw, it says it's a 3x8, and actually it's a 3x6 that's needed. There isn't a 3x8 that's supplied, and they would actually be too big, so there's 4 of those to the top section. The other bit to note is that this top cross member, I've just slotted it together here. would actually fit either way up. So just make sure that these supporting pieces are on the top and not the bottom. I'll now go ahead and put this cage together. You find it easier now just to put these two side sections together. And these have the longer mushroom head screws in. Tighten these up, just wait for the gap to close, don't over tighten. Same for the other side, push the two parts together, just thread it up and the gap to close. Next, secure the bottom part. These have got countersunk screws that go in at an angle. Just start those off on both sides and then just nip them up. We've then just got to put on the two side supports. Note here that the small screw goes in this top hole. And the longer screw goes into the bottom. And repeat that on the other side. Small screw in the top. And the long screw into the bottom. There we go. We have the first part of the rear cage assembled. We now need to bring together this cage and the rear bed that we finished earlier. They then slot in together, and then you just need to put all the small screws along the top. There's 8 of them, just to secure that on before we go any further. I'll go ahead and secure that and come back and show you the next step. Just a good tip, and when you start mounting these, just mount the rear ones first and you'll find that the front sections will line up much better. So the last part of the cage, just need to line up all 4 points. This is where the body's going to mount through. And then just to hold it in place, we just use 2 of the small screws into this section. So I've got one loaded up. And you'll see on this there are 6 mounting points. What's going to happen is that's where we're going to mount through from the inside of the body to mount this cage to the main body. Okay, I'll get set up and come back and show you mounting the body. I've now mounted the part that the spare wheel will mount on, and just note that 2 of the long bolts go through the actual frame of the flatbed, and 1 just goes through the checker plate. Got 6 screws, all the same, with little cups that are going to mount the body to the cage. 2 of them have O-rings on them. Whoops, and they go up at the top here. I would suggest to do these 2 first, because they're the hardest to get to, and you'll find that you won't get a normal driver in. You'll need to use a standard smaller Allen key. So what I'll do, just push them through the holes that we made earlier. I'll put the top 2 through. Probably easier done upside down, and then you've not got the weight of the body and the cage. Just line them up through, check that it goes right the way through into the rear section of the cage, and then just put a few turns on just to hold it in place while I do the other side. There we go, turn it round. offer it up. And again, a few turns. So go ahead, tighten those up. I then recommend to do the bottom two, and then those last two in there will be much easier. So I'll go ahead, screw that rear cage on, and come back and show you the finished product. You can now see the final effect of the body. I did actually find that, mounting the rear cage, you could get a standard driver in as long as you did the bottom ones first, work your way up to the middle, and then obviously you can for the top ones, and that did make it much easier. You see, I fitted the light buckets in the back just with a bit of double-sided tape around the edges, and then we can just ream out the holes ready for the LEDs when we come to fitting that. There we go. Next video, video 13, is the final instalment really of the build of this truck. We're going to cover assembling the front bumper, assembling the beadlock wheels, and then really bringing all the pieces together, so mounting the wheels, the bumper and the body onto the chassis that we've built through the previous stages. So thanks for watching. Please give it a thumbs up. I hope you found some tips that are useful for applying your decals. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching.